Valip was doing his first light rounds when he saw Rowan in the communal chambers. She appeared to be bending over the table and using a primitive stylus and paper he hadn't seen since he was a kid. Curiosity once again got the better of the dirt and snow vulpin with void eye markings. He approached the ruby-furred human and yipped to get her attention.
Ah,
Rowan yelled before realizing,
oh, it's you. Don't scare me like that, Valop.
I apologize.
Valip projected forgiveness before asking.
What exactly are you writing?
For the first time in a while, Rowan's face rubbed in embarrassment, which made Valip even more curious.
It's gonna sound really dumb.
Rowan sighed.
I have heard plenty of senseless traditions.
Valip encouraged.
I have yet to hear a tradition that tops the Aquarals' tradition of collecting coral for their water goddess, in fear of her draining their ocean world.
I'm writing a letter to Santa.
Rowan explained.
Who?
Santa Claus.
Rowan answered, as if it were obvious.
I have never heard of this deity.
Valop tilted his head from confusion.
He's a legendary character who gives presents to good kids and coal to the bad ones.
Rowan explained.
He keeps track of who's good or bad with a list, and he checks it twice. He makes these presents with the help of little people with pointed ears called elves. He delivers them on a sleigh with 8 reindeer that can fly fast enough to deliver presents to all the children in one night.
It appears I found a tradition more senseless than the Aquarels.
Valop sighed through his nose before daring to ask.
What does this Santa look like?
He looks like a human with a big belly, a white bread, rosy cheeks, and he's very jolly. He wears a red hat with furry white trim and a furry white tuft on top. A red coat with furry white cuffs and a furry white collar. Red pants with furry white cuffs, a black belt, and big black boots. He's often seen carrying a bag full of presents.
Any other defining characteristics?
Valip asked.
He laughs like this.
Rowan demonstrated by holding her lower abdomen and letting out the strangest laugh Valip ever heard.
Ho, ho, ho!
What in the name of Kitushi?
Valop pulsed.
And it shakes his belly like a bowl full of jelly.
Rowan smiled.
Gee, just...
Valip stammered before getting a hold of himself to learn more.
How does he intrude in... enter your homes?
The chimney.
Of course.
Valip sighed before continuing.
And what of homes without chimneys?
He creates them with his Christmas magic.
Rowan smiled.
They disappear when he leaves.
Valip just sighed at that.
Does it help that this tradition is more centered around kids?
Rowan asked.
Not really.
Valip answered before asking.
How could you humans believe in such nonsense?
It makes the kids happy.
Rowan answered.
Not to mention the fact that Santa is a huge part of Christmas. They don't call him Father Christmas for nothing. Besides, you said yourself a few days ago to respect my traditions.
Valop winced at his words being used against him like that.
Valop?
Rowan asked, with her strips of fur lowered in concern.
Please forgive me for being closed-minded.
Valip apologized.
It is against our beliefs for me to behave this way.
It's all right.
Rowan smiled.
Nobody's perfect.
I certainly hope all humans are as forgiving as you.
Valop sighed with relief.
We're pretty individual.
Rowan shrugged.
But I'd like to think we'd at least try to be patient with you guys.
Anything else you know about this Santa being?
Valip asked.
There are loads of songs and stories about him on the intranet.
Rowan smiled.
Maybe you can try reading a few.
Perhaps I should do some research on this Santa being and Christmas in general.
Valop pulsed.
It certainly would make things less thorny for everyone involved.
Want to start by writing your letter to Santa?
Rowan suggested.
Does his list extend to beings outside of humanity?
Valip asked. Rowan held up lots of paper and graphite-tipped styluses while announcing.
It does now. Let's get everyone writing, especially the kids.
Rowan's energy was contagious as Valip could feel his ears curling and saw the world jumping up and down.
You Vulpins are adorable when you bounce like that.
Rowan giggled. Valip realized what he was doing and quickly got control of himself.
Hey, you don't have to stop.
Rowan whined.
It is humiliating.
Velop almost growled.
It's adorable.
Rowan insisted. Velop was about to argue with her, but previous experiences reminded him what a thorny idea that was. So he just threw up his paws and sighed.
Now, shall we get to spreading some cheer?
Rowan's voice went up an octave. Valop's ears curled as he bobbed his head up and down in assent. Velop and Rowan spent a quarter deneural teaching the Vulpin kits, Diggling Nipplings, and even the Bloodless twins about Santa, and writing letters to him. They managed to get all the Vulpin kits writing as well as half the Diggling Nipplings. They couldn't convince the Leopex, which saddened Rowan a bit. But she shrugged it off and decided to think of other ways of getting the Leopex in the spirit of the holiday.
Even if it's the last thing I do,
Rowan declared.
I will get the Leopex involved.
I can only wish a clear path for you.
Velop bobbed his head side to side in indifference.
The Leopex are not the most spiritual in the mystic ring.
Christmas is more than just spiritual.
Rowan stated.
It's a time to spend with family and friends, a time to be just a little kinder, more helpful, and happier for it.
It sounds quite spiritual to me,
Velop observed.
Regardless,
Rowan claimed.
I will get them into the Christmas spirit even if it takes me the rest of my life.
If you manage to do that,
Velop gambled.
I shall give up Onsro for a moon.
Okay, let's not get crazy.
Rowan laughed, which made Velop wheeze along with her.
At least you managed to get most of the young ones.
Velop curled his ears.
You can settle for that, can you not?
If there's one thing you need to know about humans,
Rowan smiled.
it's that we never settle on anything. We either go all the way or we don't go at all.
Yes, you humans are stubborn like that.
Velop agreed. Rowan couldn't help smiling at that. She was about to continue speaking with Velop when she felt a little paw tugging at her. She looked down to see an amber and snow Vulpin kit half Velop's size. It took everything for Rowan to not grab and pet what she assumes is a female. The Vulpin kit doesn't have eye markings.
Well, hi there.
Rowan greeted clumsily.
You needed me?
I finished my letter.
The little kit pulsed as she handed Rowan the letter.
Oh, so you did.
Rowan smiled as she looked at the letter.
You even addressed it correctly.
I looked it up on your intranet.
The kit explained.
Finally,
Rowan sighed with relief.
someone who uses the intranet.
Will those who did not write get gifts?
The kit pulsed sadly.
I do not want the others to be left out. Did you mention that in your letter?
Rowan asked.
Yes.
Then Santa will see to it that they get gifts if they deserve it.
The Vulpin kit curled her ears so much that they almost met and bounced excitedly.
This kid is making it really hard for me not to snuggle with her.
Rowan thought. It took a third for all the young Xenos to finish their letters. There was some confusion about addressing the letters properly from the Diglings. Other than that, the letter writing went smoothly.
Is this Sand Tar coming to get letters?
A Sanford Digling Nippling asked.
Yeah, he's coming to get them.
Rowan smiled.
Why do you ask?
Can we meet him before he returns to his workshop?
A Void and Snow Kit with brown eye markings asked eagerly. Just when Velop thought Rowan's unnerving grin couldn't get any bigger, it managed to do so. The grin threatened to split Rowan's face in half. Just what was this Death Worlder up to?
Sure, everyone can have a chance to meet him.
Rowan shouted happily.
He usually comes to shopping centers, but I can get him to make an exception.
Every single young Xeno in the room was bouncing and shouting with joy. Seeing them so happy gave Velop an inexplicable feeling of warmth. Maybe he can ask Rowan about it once she's done doing whatever she's doing.
When will he get here?
A Void and Dirt Kit with amber eye markings nearly surged.
He'll be here in an hour. Third.
Rowan corrected herself.
I'll hand him the letters and tell him you guys want to meet him.
Another round of bouncing cheers ensued, which made the warm feeling return even stronger than before. Velop could even feel his ears curling. He is definitely going to ask Rowan about this feeling. A third came and went. The young ones were worried that Rowan didn't convince him. Velop worried that Rowan got their hopes up for nothing. Just when the kids were starting to get sad, they heard a sound Rowan told them to look out for.
Ho, ho, ho!
They heard a deep voice laugh.
Merry Christmas!
Santa!
He exists.
Valop barely kept the thought private.
But Rowan said,
What appeared to be a human male walked in, and he looked exactly as Rowan described. From the bright ruby hat, which appeared dirt-like to everyone present, right down to the big void boots.
I thought Rowan said he wore ruby clothes.
A gold and snow kit with void eye markings commented.
It probably is Ruby, and we just can't see it.
A void nippling reminded the kit.
See how bright it is?
Yeah,
The kit realized,
I do.
with that tiny moment of hesitation, every last Xeno child sprinted to the being as fast as their little legs can carry them. The Vulpin kits pulsed to everyone that Santa was here. Some nipplings, of all beings, hopped out of the chambers at top speed to tell the Sinol Leopex. Valop was a tad suspicious and decided to break interspecies decorum just this once. He looked into the Santa being's mind and sensed the familiar chaos of Rowan's thoughts. He had to concentrate to just hear the surface over the hundreds of other thoughts she's having all at once. Honestly, how does she even focus? I hope that I don't say through my costume. He could barely make out the thought and concentrated with everything he had. I gotta make the kids happy in spite of everything. Valop still couldn't get a clear read of Rowan. He resorted to praying for strength from Kitoshi, the once mortal god of order.
Stern Kitoshi,
Valop prayed.
this servant humbly asks thee to grant thy strength, to senseth the true thoughts of yond being.
As if answering him, the chaotic blizzard of Rowan's mind cleared and Valop could finally sense her clearly.
No child should ever be sad,
He sensed her resolve.
Especially during this time of year. I will make these kids happier than they've ever been, even if I have to wear this itchy Santa outfit and awkward stilts for the rest of the season.
The warm feeling came back with a vengeance. Now that Valop had clear access to Rowan's mind, he could impress this feeling on her and see what she identifies it as. It violates so many rules set down since the founding of the psionic peacekeepers, not to mention the fact of how draining it will be for Valop. But the poor captain really wanted to know. He didn't even need to use his powers to sense the frustration Rowan felt whenever she had to explain things that are so painfully obvious to her. Valop began implanting his feeling of warmth into Rowan's mind. He could already feel the strain on his psi aura from just attempting to move the warmth. But he pressed on in spite of it. He could feel the warmth making its way to Rowan's mind. It implanted itself into her feelings far easier than he expected. Perhaps this warmth is a positive emotion.
Whoa.
He could sense her astonishment.
I haven't had this feeling since the first Christmas I can remember.
Valop could see the somewhat faded memories of Rowan when she was much smaller. He saw an enormous tree that was heavily decorated, a being made of snow, Santa on a garish throne, Rowan's tiny voice asking for a kitty, a Leopex-like youngling on forepaw covered in void fur, Rowan's excited screams, and the warmth. He could feel it in every memory of her first experience with this holiday. It's a very happy feeling, an overwhelming feeling, a feeling so intense that it's affecting his ability to regulate his body temperature. What is this feeling? Valop searched his vast memory and could only find one instance that he felt anything similar, the nocturnal when he met his mate. Valop recalled the word for that feeling, Kitopa, the gift of love. Is this what he's feeling? Love for the happiness of the young ones? It certainly makes the most sense, but it doesn't explain the other times he felt it. Is he just picking it up from Rowan? His people are intensely empathic, and Rowan is constantly broadcasting her emotions. But he's felt it even without her presence. He just sighed and decided to file it away to ask Rowan when he gets the chance. He can only hope it doesn't annoy her too much. Valop's numerous thoughts were interrupted by Rowan shouting over the din of screaming younglings.
Now, who wants to be the first to sit on Santa's lap?
Valop noticed that Rowan made her voice incredibly deep. Vexi did inform him of how their vocal cords are capable of producing a wide range of sound despite only having two. Valop didn't quite believe that until now. If he didn't know better, he wouldn't even think that was Rowan. Not even for a stride.
I do.
An amber and snow kit with black eye markings pulsed.
I do.
A dirt-colored nippling squeaked.
I do.
The amber and snow kit pulsed.
I do.
Rowan looked where the headache-inducing surge came from and saw Valop. She couldn't help feeling confused. She had to practically twist his forelimb just to decorate the ship. Now he wants to participate? Rowan suspected Valop wanted to know something and was mildly annoyed. She thought about ignoring him, but ultimately decided to go with it for the sake of the kids.
Well, come here.
Rowan encouraged while trying to keep her voice as deep as she can manage.
Come and sit on Santa's lap.
Valop hesitated for a few strides before walking over to Rowan, who gently picked him up and placed him on her lap.
Now, what is your name, little fox?
Valop was about to protest but sensed what Rowan was doing at the last stride.
I am Captain Valop, son of Vexton.
He introduced himself.
I am a Vulpin. We are a race of psionic mammals that apparently appear similar to your Terran fox.
That explains the voices in my head.
Santawash Rowan laughed.
I've never delivered presents to anything other than humans before, but there's always a first time for everything, even for me.
Valop couldn't help being impressed at Rowan's act. It's becoming increasingly difficult to not see her as the being known as Santa. He wondered if she's done this before.
Now, what would you like for Christmas?
Actually,
Valop pulsed slowly.
I have a question, and you seem to be the right being to ask.
Usually, I'm the one asking the questions.
Santa Rowan smiled.
But since you people are new, I'm willing to make an exception.
I have been having the strangest feeling.
Valop explained.
There is this warmth in my abdomen that refuses to go away. It gets worse every time Rowan shows us these strange Christmas traditions. It is especially bad now that you have shown up and made all these younglings happy in spite of all that is going on.
You want to know what that warm, fuzzy feeling is?
Santa Rowan asked.
Yes, I want to know, Santa.
Valop projected his worry.
It's nothing to worry about.
Santa Rowan explained.
It's only the spirit of Christmas.
I do not understand.
You will in time.
Until Rowan promised.
Just be patient, keep your heart open, and your other senses as well. I promise you that by the time Christmas comes, you'll understand.
Valop didn't really like the answer he got, but he felt he should trust in Santa's. Rowan's judgment.
Thanks, Santa.
Valop curled his ears a bit.
I will do my best to understand.
That's all I can ask of you.
Rowan smiled.
It's all Rowan asks of you, too.
Valop got off Rowan's, Santa's lap to let the other younglings on. Word definitely got around, and now the Leopecs were joining in. Looks like he's going to have to give up on Zero for a moon. For some reason, Valop didn't seem too upset about that. All he could feel is that warmth every time he saw all the decorations, the singing, the cookies. It's especially intense when he sees the crew and their young ones show happiness. He will get to the bottom of this, even if he has to participate in every tradition Rowan has. No matter how ridiculous or humiliating,